Are you ready to fight and seduce yourself? This is one of the questions right now. Otherwise, on this Mars-Jupiter conjunction, we're going to instead be very arrogant and dogmatic and decide to use our intelligence or even potentially our money if you're coming from a very wealthy background to lock horns with people, because this is what Mars wants to do. So we have Mars in Gemini, but locking horns with people will be a very intellectual process. You'll want to prove that you are right, but you'll do it in a way with a Mars-Jupiter conjunction by proving that somebody else is wrong. And you'll find yourself feeling very arrogant and insecure in situations where you meet somebody wise. You'll try to poke holes in their plan and their logic and their wisdom. And the thing about wisdom is it doesn't look to prove anything. And so this is the negative lower frequency of this Mars-Jupiter conjunction in Gemini. Now on the higher note, we look at where it happens in Sidereal, and we understand that this happens in Rohini Nakshatra, which is really kind of Mars and Taurus, Jupiter and Taurus, rather than Mars and Gemini, Jupiter and Gemini. And so it's happening at the same time. So understand these are just two different aspects and perspectives to look at it, where Jupiter is the enemy, okay? Gemini is the enemy of Jupiter, all right? Mars is one of the first things that steps outside of our internal core, outside of our earthly needs, and it starts to operate in its own orbit where it doesn't have to listen to Jupiter's wisdom, but it can. You can choose to listen to the wisdom of Jupiter. And what the wisdom is saying is understand that this is a tremendously arousing type of energy. It's very sexual, it's very sexy, it's very seductive. It looks to draw things in because it's happening with this shade, this gradient of lunar energy, but the lunar energy that really brings us towards our lusty energy, where we want to step outside of our marriage. We want to step outside of our commitments. We want to use our sexual energy in immature ways and unconscious ways. And unconscious is immature. And so if you are maturing, what you'll do is you'll put a lot of this conjunction energy. Remember, Mars conjunct Jupiter, it bangs first before it blends and understands that, hey, we're one and the same, but coming from two different planets, meaning we have a different understanding of the significance of self-care and nurturing our garden and watering ourselves. And this is really what this Nakshatra, Rohini Nakshatra needs. It needs to water itself instead of looking for the water outside of to other people. So when you see this with Mars and Gemini, Jupiter and Gemini, it's like, don't look for knowledge and knowing from people outside of yourself. Look inside of yourself and water your own knowing by going ahead and reading a book, or writing letters and journaling. Okay, these are things where you'll start to nurture your own intelligence, nurture your own knowing, rather than trying to prove that what somebody else knows is wrong. And this is the thing where it becomes a very moralistic energy. It becomes a sort of indignation even on the moral spectrum, where you can, it depends if you're a man or a woman and your personal charts and yada yada yada, but considering this is a transit, really be careful for moral indignation. Really be careful when you look at politics right now and judging somebody on a political scale, when the reality is you don't know. So watch for when you hear I say, oh, I know, oh, I knew that, oh, that's going to be the very arrogant, insecure, and childish energy that says I know, when you're threatened, that you feel innately inside that somebody else knows. And instead of trying to extract that knowing, that inner knowing from ourselves, we'll try to tear down other people, because again, this is Mars and it wants to win, so it's willing to fight, and it will fight in order to win, because winning is more important for this particular transit than understanding. This is an understanding type transit. This is a something where you're looking to take action in the healthy forms on your projects. All right. Now hit the thumbs up and the likes button as I get ready to address the women listening to this video. So for the women, you're going to find yourself truly attracted to masculine energies who seem intelligent. They seem like they got their life together. They seem very forward moving. They seem like they take action on their wisdoms. They take action on what they've prepared and planned, and it begins to feel very sexy. It's sexually alluring. It's like it wants to draw you in and magnetize you. And again, this is the moon, so you're not even fully aware. It's hidden of what is the magnetism of this male figure, this masculine figure that I find, intellectually and moralistically attractive. And what happens is, if that person stays dogmatic and they stay stuck in their own ways and they stay stuck in their wisdom, that male, you'll find, will stay the same, but the woman will start to question and realize, damn, do you always need to be so arrogant? Like, do you ever turn off, being this cocky? And when that happens, she'll begin to kind of absorb and take those traits, and it may be important for us to address those as women, masculine energies that we have left in our toxic masculinity or shadow frequencies of masculine energy, and learn how to redirect and adopt some of the light frequencies of masculinity, learning how to be sensitive yet progressive, and rather than controlling as a shadow frequency with our knowledge, our intellect, as well as with our money. Because again, this goes back into Rohini and Chakra, which is Taurus, Mars and Taurus, Gemini and Taurus, Mars and Taurus, Jupiter and Taurus. So that's another thing for women that I wanted to kind of highlight. Now for men, you got to be very careful of being overly blunt, thinking that you're doing the other person a favor, which is a lot of what Gemini does. They're like, well, I just said the truth, I just threw it out there. And it's like, well, you got to also be receptive, because this is a lunar presence. This still has Taurian energy, and it's a feminine energy. It wants to draw in and magnetize rather than externalize and push out. So the illusion is, within the Western astrology, it's in Gemini, so it's like, I'm pushing this out. And it's like, no, it's not really there right now. It's really in draw it in. And so if you can be sensitive and not try to prove your points and focus less on intellectual competitiveness, making sure that you seem smarter than the next person, okay? You got to really address your father wounds. Well, how does your father look to brag and say, look at what I have, look at this, look at that, and instead be more receptive to, okay, well, if I have this and I have this in excess, this is happening in a 10th house angle, meaning, can I give this away to the people who are less fortunate than me? Understanding that I am coming from a lot of respect, power, and a very, influential reputation. And my influence is that potent. So when somebody sees me give one of these resources or some intellectual wisdom, instead of competing with the next person, they will ultimately respect me more, and that will in return have karma pay my dues back, rather than me and my arrogance trying to pay itself. All right, that's for my men. Now for the final thing, I want to say, hit the thumbs up and the likes button. Do check out our numerology course that we're doing. It's going to happen, Mars and Gemini, Jupiter and Gemini. This is a number. Gemini is a number, is a scientific science. So check that out. Other than that, understand that this is an interminable argument type energy. Like, you're going to want to fight with people. You're going to want to prove yourself, prove your point, whether you're a man or a woman. And when you see this happen with people, your best bet is to actually just reserve yourself and go back and water your own garden, because Taurus doesn't fight with people. They just watch them burn themselves out. And this is Rohini and Chakra at its height, right? Like, use your sexual energy instead of arguing with somebody else, because it's a very potent, powerful urge to create, to procreate, to arouse something. So we're gonna want to arouse the people in our society and our immediate environment, because Gemini and there's Mars Jupiter conjunction, or we can arouse and procreate our own base, because this represents the chariot, a chariot, and so it's like, it's the base. So Jupiter has the opportunity to expand the base that we are operating, working, and creating our massive abundance from, our financial incomes and otherwise. And if you do that, you'll now be able to drive Gemini, part of this, okay, Mars and Gemini, Jupiter and Gemini, you'll be able to drive a car on a nice smooth road, because you focused on expanding and creating your base. And so your base and the expansion of that represents the masculine energy of this Mars and this Jupiter, both masculine dominant energies. Gemini is a masculine dominant energy. And so when we do this and we expand energy, we now have more road to freely operate from and on, rather than a bumpy road, something where we are like really tight and congested, and it's a very uncomfortable ride. Taurus wants to focus on its comforts, and so there's Rohini and Chakra with Mars conjunct Jupiter says focus on making things more comfortable, and Jupiter is like, plan that stuff out before you actually take tremendous and full action. So you're getting this forecast ahead of time, and I hope that you're able to plan out your projects in a way where when it's time to go full throttle, okay, aka in a month or so from now, maybe actually from the time I'm recording this is August 2nd, 3 weeks from now, it's going to be more like a full throttle, like get after it. But Jupiter is like plan that stuff out so that you can actually expand and be abundant in your resources and your assets and the growth of your wealth and the growth of your long-term dreams and future, starting with a very solid base. So again, hit the thumbs up and the likes button. Hope you enjoyed this Mars conjunct Uranus. I love you. I will see you all soon. This is a pleasure. Check out our membership. This is your AstroShaman, inspiring brilliance with spiritual accountability and occult practices. We're doing it in our membership. We're doing some dream work coming up next. How to dream, habits that you can do to increase lucid dreaming possibilities, as well as navigate between the realms of the second dimension and beyond. And then we're also going into that numerology class starting on August 18th, 2024, depending on when you watch this video. So thank you. Hit the thumbs up. Check out our services. Get a one-on-one reading with me if that's something you feel you're interested in, ready to go through some enlightenment of the self, okay? Knowing yourself better and understanding yourself deeply. I love you. I thank you for hitting the thumbs up. I'll see you soon, baby.